Bigger Talks, Bigger Talks. We back again with another episode, and I got the lovely Kristen Such on the podcast, Bigger Talk. I thought it was Such. She just corrected me. Thank you, Kristen. Thank you for being here. She's a spiritual mentor. She's a confidence coach. She's a mindset coach. She's all the things. This woman is powerful. By the way, I ran into her on YouTube talking about her Joe Dispenza experience and heart coherence and retreats and quitting the corporate world to get into the spiritual world. Kristen, welcome to Bigger Talks. How are you? How you feeling?
Thank you so much for that introduction. I feel like I have big shoes to fill now, but yeah, I'm doing so well. So happy that Joe Dispenza brought us together. Do you do Joe Dispenza, by the way?
Well, I do. I love Joe. Joe's the man.
Do? Yeah, he is the man.
I had a 15-minute morning meditation that I would listen to every morning, probably for like maybe 20 days, just to kind of get in that. I was like, last year I was having like a hard time, a lot of contrast, but he was just keeping me elevated and keeping me neutralized. And Joe's the guy. He's been through a lot, but he has healed so many souls. And what has your experience been with Joe and his retreats? Can you kind of speak on that?
Yeah. So I'll share with the audience like my path with Dr. Joe. So I too went through a very bad rock bottom last year. And I was at the lowest of the lows. You know, I couldn't get myself out of it. I entered a pretty deep depression. And then one day I was just on YouTube and I remember listening to something of him talking about like, you know, how long are you going to stay in this emotion? And just something in me, it was like my higher self came into my body and was like, it's time to heal. It's time to change. And so that moment I put on a Joe Dispenza meditation. It was like a 30-minute meditation. And for the first time in 6 months after I had a really bad, very traumatic breakup, that was what rock bottomed me. And so for the first time after 6 months, after that meditation, I felt just a little bit of hope for the first time. And I was like, this little feeling is what I'm going to hold on to for as long as I can. And so I went on this journey and I meditated. I said, I'm going to do this for 60 days and see if it really works. Everyone's saying that you have to be consistent. You have to really dive in. So, okay, let's go. I'm an Aries. So it's like, I go all in or not at all. And I did it for 60 days. And during those 60 days, I would say my depression lifted about, 65, 70%. I started making more money in my business. Things started falling into place. And I was like, okay, well, is this a coincidence or is it just because I'm getting better? Right. So I took a little break. I took 30 days off and I was doing it sometimes, but every single day is a lot. You have to wake up earlier. It's not a short meditation. I was doing 30 minutes to 40 minutes a day. And I was like, okay, so took 30 days off. Everything went back down. I was just like, okay, so was it the meditations or what? So then I took the next 30 days, right? It's month 4. And I'm like, I'm going to go back all in again and see. That 30 days, everything went right back up. And I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm done testing. This is not a coincidence. I'm in. So almost every day since that time, which I guess was probably like 8, 9 months ago now, I've done Joe Dispenza meditations. And I'm not going to say like, Joe changed my life. The work that he teaches and how to do it has changed my life. And since I've been to 2 Joe Dispenza retreats, have gone like even deeper, I've manifested so much. I mean, I think you can tell in when you really look at me now, like I'm happy, like genuinely happy. And I'm going to say that the biggest part of that is that it's not because of anything, but because I just feel whole within. And that's really the root of all of his teachings, is it teaches you how to feel wholeness without any conditions. And that is truly what we're here to experience. Like we're here to experience that reflection of what the source feels. We are part of the source and the source is wholeness. And so when you can feel that wholeness within you, you are now genuinely that creator that we're here to be. You can manifest, you can create anything that you want because you're creating it from wholeness and not from lack, right? We can create from lack. We do all the time. It's just not going to give you the actual feeling that you think it's going to give you.
And it's powerful. There's so many downloads in that moment. So since we're on the topic of wholeness, I want to get into meditation because I think it's important. What is that feeling of wholeness that you feel today that makes you genuinely happy? What does that feel like in your body, in your nervous system? Like, can you express or give us the visual of what that might look like for someone who wants to fulfill that in this lifetime?
I'm going to try to be careful with my words because I know some people, it's hard to explain a feeling, right? It's like asking someone, it's trying to explain like what a pineapple tastes like. You're like, you can try, but until you experience it yourself, you're not really going to know. For me, it feels like I have everything I need in that moment, and I'm connected to everything. That's what wholeness feels like to me. It's this overarching feeling of oneness. And when you feel connected to everything and like you have everything you need, you're not searching for anything. You're not saying, I want money, I want love, I want friends. You feel like you are that. Like there's no separation between it. And so for me, it actually feels like my most natural state. But in this 3D realm, there's density. There's separation. And that's why, I mean, it's not a bad thing. Nothing is good or bad, right? Like it's all the source, but it's just what we signed up for in this video game. We're here to experience that separation, to find that deeper level of wholeness. And the only way that the source could experience it itself, it was one, and then it said, I'm bored, I want to experience more. So it created many, and now it's having the perspective of many. And that's exactly what we're here to do. We're not here to do anything but experience a new perspective and as many experiences as we can.
It's beautiful because like life is whole. You always tell people, I don't need anything because I have everything. And everything me and everything is within, and I'm whole and I'm complete, I'm fulfilled, which makes me genuinely happy, right? I am meditation. I don't have to meditate. I am meditation when you feel that wholeness that you spoke on. What is your definition of meditation versus the perception of meditation? Because I feel like you're so embodied and integrated in meditation where I feel like once you get in it, you tap right into whatever that theta, beta, phase, and you become whatever you need to become to get where you need to go. I feel like unconsciously, you just know
how to get there. Yeah, I do. But I will say I know, and I'm very confident in that, but I've also sat with myself for dozens and dozens of hours. I've probably sat with myself for days and really sat with that feeling and understood what it was like and learned how to do it. So I think, no, I know what true meditation is pure presence. It's not looking for anything. It's not thinking about anything. When you learn how to find, Joe Dispenza calls it the generous present moment. Why is it generous? It's because in that moment, you have everything you need. Like if me and you can really be in this moment right now, and everybody listening, this moment, listen to my words. Don't think about anything else. You actually have everything you need right now. You have food, right? You're clearly listening to a podcast. You have all your needs met in this moment. And if you actually just stay here instead of thinking about this and that and XYZ and your worries and what you're going to do tomorrow and what you need to do after you listen to this podcast, that will take care of itself. But the true meditation, it doesn't need to be done with your eyes closed. It can just be, I'm purely present. I'm right here. And that is actually what enlightenment is. It's just being present.
I think you said something I've never heard it said like this before. Presence means that you have everything you need in the moment.
That's what wholeness is.
Yeah, you have everything you need in the moment. We focus on what we don't have in every moment, so we can't be present. We can't meditate. You got to put that out somewhere. Is that in a book? Is that on another podcast? Because if people can just understand that viewpoint, and that terminology, and that language, they can integrate the presence more. It's like, look around. You have a phone. You're listening to a podcast. You have your senses. You have everything. So
in any moment, you can drop into any dimension, right? You can drop into the dimension of lack. You can say, yeah, Kristen, but I have $50 in my bank account and I don't have the clothes that I want. Like you can drop into that dimension. There's times where I feel still lack, right? Like even though I am so abundant, or I can say, I'm literally never going to run out of air. Like literally, I'm never going to run out of air. I'm so abundant in air and I have 10 pairs of shoes right there. And my dog's love is never going to run out for me. Like there's so many ways that you can actually find abundance in every moment, but you have to, this is what being the creator is. It's where do you want to direct your focus? You can be in lack or you can be in abundance. And when I learned, like during the rock bottom, I was really recoding my lack and my abundant mindset. I really want everyone to hear this because it might be the most important thing. If you have a lack mindset, abundance and money are different. Like really hear that.
Hey, say that again.
Abundance and money are different. I can have $5, but still be the most abundant person in the room. And I can have $5 million and be the poorest person in the room.
Yeah, I see some people so rich, all they have is their poorness.
That's all.
Rich inside.
Yeah. And when I quit my corporate job, I was looking at all my friends who had their cushy, and it was an ego death for me. I worked at I worked at Under Armour. I was so proud of it. I'm like, I manifested this. Like, I have this beautiful corporate job. And when I quit my job, 5 years ago, and I decided to be an entrepreneur, I was teaching yoga full time. I was like, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm teaching yoga full time. Like, I was living more like less than paycheck to paycheck. I was using some of my savings to cover my cost. And I would see my friends getting off of work at, 6 p.m. after going to the gym, going to take a shower, going to make dinner, going home, doing it all over 5 days a week. I felt richer than all my friends because I did whatever the fuck I wanted during the day. I taught a couple yoga classes. I went home. I made content. I felt so rich, even though I was the poorest one out of all my friends. And now I like to think that I'm, killing it, but it's a mindset. Like, abundance is a mindset.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think people want more of that, right? Because I tell people, I said, at 22, I came to LA, I went for it, right? Like, but all in, I'm going for my dreams, and I hit a lot of those things, but I don't feel the way they looked. So I always say success is getting what you want. Fulfillment is doing what you're made for. And I think what you're speaking to and what people need to take in is that what do you really love? What are you passionate about? And what makes your soul feel happy, right? Because if you can move more into that space, even if you still have the job, you'll probably have a little more sprinkle of happiness over here, right? Because it's about your soul purpose, not what you think your life purpose is. So I know you talk about purpose and finding your soul purpose. Like, can you speak on like what you did to tap into the purpose of your soul to kind of be living abundant like you are now and being authentic and transparent about any and everything with no resistance or no fear? How did you get to that point? Like, what, you said Joe Dispenza's meditation, but now you're just in this, you're at bat and you hitting the ball every time you get up. It's like, what we doing? We winning every game and we might be hitting home runs.
I don't know if there's any other reason we're in human bodies other than to fulfill our soul's purpose. And I want to use these words lightly because it's not this like, this is my purpose in this moment, but your purpose, everyone's purpose is an evolution, right? So at the time, my purpose was my corporate job, and that was teaching me so many soul lessons. And so if somebody is looking for their soul's purpose, my biggest and best advice for you is stop focusing on finding the one thing and focus on just the next step that your soul is telling you to do. So I like to tell my story because it's a really, really good reminder that things need to evolve into something bigger and they need time, and there's steps to your purpose, right? So a good example. So let's like kind of just dial back to my first corporate job at Under Armour, which me and you connected on because I was like, I lived in Baltimore too. And I have that 4 years in Baltimore that just kind of, I feel like maybe connects us a little bit. But I worked at Under Armour, and while I was at Under Armour, I have a double major in supply chain and finance. That's what I went to school for because I thought that was going to make me successful. My dad told me be in business, and I was like, okay. So I get this double major. I go get a supply chain job. I hate it. So I moved to finance. I hate it. I moved to another job in finance. I hate it. I was about to quit my job, and my mom was like, please just try one more thing before you leave it. And if you don't like it, then you can leave and I won't, say anything. So I tried a job in HR. Again, I hated it. And at this point, I had been in the corporate world for 4 years, tried everything under the sun, and I was deeply, deeply, deeply depressed. So this is a really good moment where you can reflect if anybody's trying to find their purpose. If you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling sad, if you're feeling stuck, if you feel like you don't want to be at the next level of your job, it's probably not for you, right? You have to listen to your soul. Our soul speaks to us all the time. We just are so committed to the logical thing versus the intuitive, emotional thing, right? Our soul speaks to us through our emotions. And so finally, I hit that cracking point, that dark night of the soul where I said, I can't be at this cube for any more days. Like, I can't do it. I feel like my soul is dying. And I did. I felt like my soul was just shriveling up and becoming nothing. And so then I quit my corporate job and I decided to become a full-time yoga teacher. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to figure it out. And I just trusted that I would know what to do when. And then, I quickly got burned out at that. And then I scaled back my teaching and I started a freelance marketing business where I was doing social media for all the small businesses in Baltimore. I had like 4 or 5 businesses that I was doing their social medias. And so I was doing yoga and my freelance marketing business, but it felt weird to also build something for someone else that I didn't really care about. So I knew that that wasn't really my thing. And it wasn't also pulling in the amount of money to give me the comfortable life that I wanted. And so then COVID hit. And so all of the marketing dollars obviously go to the trash and the yoga studio closes down and I'm SOL, right? I'm shit out of luck. And I'm like, okay, what's next? So I go inward again and I'm like, what is my soul calling me to do? And at the time I had been taking like a life coaching course because everyone would come to me for advice, like no matter what, since I was younger, like everyone would just come to me and they'd be like, what should I do? Or tell me how to handle this. And so I was doing that, but I was never really thinking that I was going to do anything with it. I was just like, this is something that I'm interested in, but I'm kind of too scared. And then when COVID hit and I had no way to make money, my soul just pushed me off the cliff and it was like, do or die. I had to. And that was 4.5 years ago now, maybe 4.5 years ago. And it worked. I'm now a spiritual mentor. I have a podcast. I host retreats around the world. It's evolved, right? But if I was, my point of telling my story is if I had left Under Armour and said, what is my soul's purpose? I need to know. I have to know before I quit this job because I need that certainty. I would have never found this. It was a progression. It was all giving me skills that led to this. And so I try to shy people away from finding that one soul's purpose and more focusing on presence and saying, what is the next step? Because when you're living in pure presence, it's actually going to end even better than you could ever imagine, even that you could plan out. Like what I'm doing now and how I'm doing it is so much bigger than I could have thought up for myself back then.
Yeah. And the thing is, you said something in your story that stood out. You said the word trust. Trust what comes through. Trust what you know. So you said trust. I'm like, I'm going to ask a question. And then you said you were doing something that you love to do, but it wasn't for yourself. And it's a lot of us out there that are great at something that we're doing for others, but we don't know how to do it for ourselves with the same passion. So my question to you, how does a person get into a trustful state where they trust what's coming through? They trust the intuitive hits and the nudges. And how do they be passionate about doing something for themselves? Like, what does that look like? Because I think that's a challenge with most people. Lack of trust, and I can't give to myself the way I give to others.
Yeah. Trust is a practice. Like anything else, it doesn't come overnight. It comes over consistent action. And I love to use this analogy to describe self-trust. So let's say me and you are new friends, right? And let's say we're hanging out and we just meet at some random event in LA and I'm like, Eric, let's hang out. And you're like, yeah, totally. So I'm like, okay, let's get coffee 10 a.m. Sunday. And you're like, yes, for sure. So we plan to get coffee Sunday. I'm sitting there 9:55, ready to go. And you shoot me a text. I totally forgot. I'm so sorry. Can we do later this week? So I'm like, okay, annoying, but I'll just get my coffee, go home. Cool. Yeah. So cool. Later this week. We plan on Wednesday morning. Then Tuesday night, you send me a text, 10 p.m. You're like, hey, I'm going to be out late tonight. I don't think I can get coffee in the morning. I'm so sorry. Okay. Yeah. And then you're like, let's plan for this weekend. Then the weekend rolls around. I don't hear from you. Friend to friend, do you think I'm going to have any trust in you?
Yeah,
No, because you are not doing what you said you were going to do. Now, I love this analogy because we have to flip this back on ourselves. Self-trust is not built in big moments where you quit your job and you do all these big things. Self-trust is built in small moments. It's built in the moment you don't want to go to the gym, but you go anyway. It's built in the moment you say, I'm going to start that business, and then you buy the domain. It's built in very small, seemingly irrelevant moments where you show up for yourself and you say, when I say something, I'm going to do it. And when you feel a sense of trust in yourself, you no longer need certainty, right? I'm the kind of person where even if I fail, I failed millions of times on this entrepreneurial journey. I failed millions of times in my life in certain things. And I trust that I will figure it out. I don't need to know the certainty because I just trust I'll get through it. And when you have that deeper security within yourself, you no longer need to know every step, every move, everything, because you just know you're the type of person that just figures it out.
Yeah, and it's so beautiful the way you gave that analogy, because my entire life, people say, well, what about you? I was like, I'm going to be good. Trust me. I'm going to be good no matter what. I'm going to figure it out. But I didn't know that that was me telling myself I trust myself. I
Hmm.
would overshare, overgive, overdo because I'm like, I'm good. Trust me. I'm going to figure it out. But I don't know what
Hmm.
I was saying. I just knew in my heart. I didn't believe it.
Yeah.
There was a knowing. No, I'm good. Watch this. That's trust. Right.
Hmm.
So we got to get back to the place of how do I trust myself in those little moments? What is my intuition saying? Kristen is inviting me out. So I'm the guy you invited me to get coffee, but I didn't trust what came through. I don't really want to get coffee. So I'm
Hmm.
not being authentic and tell you, hey, this week won't work. I'm busy.
Yeah.
Right. Instead, I say yes. And where I really want to say no. So now I'm messing up your trust in me as a friend. That's
Hmm.
another reason where we don't follow what we feel. And
Exactly.
at the end of the day, you have to see who you are, right? Like, yeah, okay, I say all the time, let's go, E. Come on, big dog. You say all this. Come on, Mr. Positivity, jump in. Jump in the deep end. Swim
Yeah.
with the sharks. And then people are like, well, I'll wait when I do this. They say success like speed because slow is complex. Let's do it now, right? And I feel like you talk about so much in that moment. I think that's what people really need is trust. Trust in everything. Trust in relationships, trust in partnerships, trust in themselves, trust in the business. And then the masculine thing of it, you will figure it out.
It doesn't matter what you need trust in. I think that it's all trusting the unknown. When you are not able to trust the unknown, you are constantly grasping for certainty in a literal world that is created for uncertainty. That is the easiest way to be fucking miserable on this earth plane, is needing to know what happens next. And if you can actually just fucking surrender, like really just say, I don't know what's going to happen next, but I'm so freaking excited because everything just turns out always okay. Then you are in this vibrational space of the universe is going to actually serve you up the most magical moments, people's synchronicities, everything, because you're in flow. When you're forcing, when you're needing to know, you're not in flow, you're in freaking expectation. And that is not a magnetic frequency.
I don't have expectation, I have appreciation. And I think that's another one, trust and then surrender. So from your paradigm, how does one trust one in their mind, and how do two they trust in their body? Because I know, not trust, I'm sorry, surrender in their mind and then surrender in their body, right? When it comes to like a relationship, quitting a job, leaving a job, or making a big life decision, moving to the other side of the country, how do we surrender? Because I dealt with that, and that's hard to surrender to. Like,
Yeah.
like last year, you spoke about your contrast and Dark Night of the Soul. My fear was I was afraid I'm gonna lose everything I created with this false identity that I thought I should be. And it wasn't until it wasn't the losing it was fear that was controlling me. Once I didn't care anymore, I'm like, whatever happens, happens. My life changed. But I don't know what I did in my mind and my body. I just made a
Well,
decision and things just changed.
yeah, I'll talk about it. I'm really good at like making systems and processes for these types of things. So I'll talk about it from a few different angles. The first angle is, there is really a trauma piece to this. Like if you were never taught to trust yourself or your brain is not wired to know that everything's going to be okay, this is where with my clients, I use a lot of inner child and emotional regulation work. I have this meditation that I created for my clients called Return to Safety. And what you do is you practice feeling the feelings of safety in your body, because safety is actually a construct of the mind. Like, let's say you even feel safe at a corporate job. Well, you're not actually safe there. Like, they could fire you tomorrow and tell you that they're not going to pay you. Like, that's just a construct you're creating that you're safe, right? It's not real. It's just a construct. And so you can actually create the construct of safety in your body without any conditions, which is what I'm trying to help my clients do. Like, the reason that us as entrepreneurs can feel safe, even though we don't know how much money is going to come in this month, is because we've created a higher baseline of safety in that unknown. So number one, I would say is like training your body and your brain through subconscious work, like inner child or safety work. And I have those meditations I can give to your audience as well, that like you can create safety, right? You create safety within. So I would say that's a really good way to start. And then what you were saying, you're like, I don't know what I did. Well, I do know what you did. And what you kind of said at the end is you were like, I thought my biggest fear was that I was going to lose everything from this fake perception that I created. But then when I accepted it, then everything fell into place. So this is actually a process I use with my clients called worst case scenario work. When you can accept the worst case scenario, you will actually no longer be in resistance to the flow of life.
Kristen, say that again. Oh,
so
wow.
When you can, it's okay. Let me explain it a little bit better. So let's say that you are like scared shitless to quit your corporate job. I don't know. And you want to start this business and you are having so much fear. The way that I would work with it with you is I would say, okay, what's the worst case scenario if you quit your corporate job and this business doesn't work? And like, maybe you're like, okay, I lose the money I invested in the business. I've invested $20,000 and then I fail and then I don't have a job. Okay. So what would you do after that? I don't know, probably get another corporate job. Okay. Can you, we're not saying that this is going to happen, but can you accept that might happen? Can you fully get on board? Like, go feel those feelings, like really go there and feel it, because the reason you're not wanting to do it is because you think that those emotions are so uncomfortable that you won't be able to handle it. So prepare yourself, go feel that, see what it would feel like, sit there for a second, realize you're still okay, and then say, okay, if that happens and that's the worst thing, I accept it, but I still want that thing. And I don't think that's going to happen. So I'm going to keep going.
Wow. And it's so true, because it's like radical acceptance. Like, no matter what, good, bad, and different, I accept all of life, even the parts I don't like about others, myself, the work environment, where I live, how I'm living. Unconditional acceptance for all of things. And then I don't have nothing controlling me because of fear or what if. You're working with me as a client and I get off a call, and next thing you know, I get the biggest email of my life. The change like, oh, we want to move you to the East Coast and pay you all this money. And it's like, because we just got through that moment, because healing happens in an instant.
Yeah.
Right? Once you shift the paradigm and you just got that aha, like, wow, that's all I had to do. And you're like, yeah.
Just accept, like, just be in that energy of like, I accept. And, when I was in my rock bottom, like really deep into it, I don't know if, I'm sure so many people have gone through a very bad rock bottom. When you're really deep into it and you can't see a way out, like it's moment to moment, like you have to just get by every single moment. And I remember in that rock bottom, I would say, when I was feeling so much resistance in my body to my reality outside, I would just go close my eyes and I would get into my heart and I would just say, I accept this moment. I accept this moment. I accept this experience. I accept that, we're not together anymore. I accept that this is my reality. I would just go into an acceptance rant and then when I would feel like 10% better. I'd be like, okay, if I accept it, then nothing needs to change when you're in true acceptance. When you accept something, you don't no longer need things to change.
When you accept something, you no longer need things to change.
Every time you don't like where you are, when you need something to change, you need the manifestation, you need something to be happy, you're in resistance. If you just accept exactly where you are, you automatically bring yourself back into the present moment and release all the resistance.
And do you believe that's why meditation is so great? And you can kind of really embody it the way you should and be really present?
Well, yeah, it neutralizes your vibration. It really just brings you back to neutrality. Like, we can't manifest what we want from a place of resistance. We just can't.
You have so much that you give the world, and I'm just so of all, because it's like you remind me of myself in a different way, but it's like you have this information. So I was on your social media and you had I think it was a thread, and you said, if you feel cringe, it's okay. Can you elaborate on that? Because I think we all feel the cringe, like, I got to do this. I don't want to tell this person the truth. Or, what is that cringe? And what were you saying? What is the context you were speaking from?
I'm not going to lie. I don't remember that.
No? Well,
no, but let me, but yeah, I like make so much content every day. Like, I feel like I literally just channel shit and just like type it out. Like, I just put it somewhere, cause it's like, it's just flowing through me. And sometimes I'm like, I don't know, somebody needs to hear this, whatever. But, I'll say what's coming through right now is like, I think so many people are just scared of emotions. They're scared of feeling cringe. And it's like, what if you decided that you were okay for 1 week, 1 year, feeling uncomfortable emotions. How much further would you get in your goals? Think about that. Like everyone just doesn't do things because they're scared of feeling uncomfortable emotions. I tell my clients all the time, the biggest hack to get what you want is to master discomfort. That's it. Master discomfort. If you can be okay feeling cringe, feeling like a failure, feeling like a loser, feeling like no one likes you for a second, if you can be like, these are uncomfortable emotions and I will get through it, now nothing's stopping you. You're just going to kill it in life.
Because you're not attached to anything outside of yourself. That doesn't matter.
Yeah, because you feel wholeness within.
Right. They're going to think and say anyway. And it's like, it's so great because you're teaching them how to detach once they embody the uncomfortability of those feelings. Like, oh, this what embarrassment feels like? Oh, this what fears feel like? Oh, heartbreak? Oh, I felt that before. And then you can relate. So now you know it's not even as deep as you made it in your mind because you have the actual experience of like, I want to share something with you. Like, I feel like everybody went through this dark night of the soul last year for some reason. 2023 is seven is a number of truth and psychic. And I had a lot of people contemplate suicide last year that was in my life that were coming to me. And it was scaring me because it's like people I love and care about. I'm like, oh, what? Oh, God, what's going on? I'm trying to find myself. I'm having an ego death. And now when that thing comes on my doorstep, I'm like, oh, this is easy work. What are we doing? Because I'm not attached to it because I have the information and the experience to know, like, I don't have to fear this. I can face this with love and like accept, like, okay, that's how they're feeling. I know what's going on internally, but I don't have to become it to help it. I can kind of just hold space and let people be however they are in that moment of feeling uncomfortable. But now I'm so confident. Like when I get those calls now, I'm not tripping. I'm not out of my body. I'm totally present. Okay, talk to me, right? And they don't know I'm doing a sense of doing Reiki on them and sending them energy and love. And I'm just like, yeah, tell me more. And I'm just holding space. And then they start crying. I'm like, damn, you see, you feel better, right? No one's judging you. And then you're like, but I had to go through that uncomfortable part to what you were saying to feel competent in that moment again in a different way.
Totally. And I think that, we had very similar experiences. I don't know what your rock bottom was, but I know for me, it's like the level of trust I feel in myself before that rock bottom and after. It's like I had that basic level of self-trust, but when you go through something really fucking hard and you realize no one can pull me out of this but me, like, and then you pick up the pieces off the floor and you glue yourself back together piece by piece, shard by shard, there is a whole new level of self-trust that you get. Like for me, I'm like, try me. I'm like, try me life, because you know what? Nothing can fucking scare me now because I just went through the hardest year of my life and look at me now. I'm thriving. Like nothing scares you anymore because you go through it and you learn, I got me. I got me. Nobody else needs to get me because I got me. I'll make it through no matter what.
And that's amazing. And, it's really like, I got to a point last year. My mom was like, listen, the end of the day is between you and God. I'm your mother. You can give me all, and I can give you my advice from my experience. And I was like, there's no need to tell anyone what I'm going through. I just need to trust and know and let go. I wanted to get into like the plant medicine. So I did a cacao in March for my birthday, and it really opened up my mind, right? I already was tapped in, but I was now to tune me into a different way. And what happened for me, fear like left my body. Mama Cacao was talking to me and like fear just left. And I'm like, oh, everything is fear to keep us from remembering who we are. And then now, within a few days, I'm going to go to Peru to do St. Pedro. But I want to know, what's your journey on plant medicine? How has it helped your life? And do you think most people should do it? Like, what is your experience?
I love that you like cacao broke you open, because cacao is such a gentle medicine. So anyone who's like wanting to maybe even just dip their toes, I think cacao is like a beautiful place to start. It's not a psychedelic. It's just a heart opener, and it really just cracks you open. And so I've worked with cacao for years. That's probably like where my journey started. I never really realized it. And then, in the last couple, I really created a beautiful relationship with magic mushroom psilocybin. And I've done several heroic doses now. And I will say that, I've been on my spiritual journey. I had my spiritual awakening when I was 17. So I think that's where the depth of me comes from. Like people, most people awaken in their 20s or even late 20s. Like 17, I was in freaking high school. It's been a long time. And so the reason I'm bringing that up is because mushrooms have been the most profound teacher I've ever had. It's my biggest spiritual teacher. I learned more on a 6-hour mushroom trip than I did 10 years on my spiritual journey, reading books, doing work on myself. Like, truly is such a powerful medicine. I mean, there's so much we could talk about, but I'll kind of wrap it with: mushrooms give you what you want, not what you need. So, or no, they give you what you need, not what you want. Sorry. And it's like, you could go in and you could want to have this experience and blah, blah, blah. And like, you could have all these expectations, and mushrooms might make you look at the one thing that you've been avoiding for 10 years. You know what I mean? And that's exactly what you needed. They're so intelligent. And so right now I am big in microdosing. So I have a microdosing practice right now. I've taken a little bit of time off of like the big doses, because I did quite a few last year and early this year that I do think that I just need to integrate, because it can take a year to integrate all the lessons that you learn in that 6-hour trip. I can't speak highly enough of them. As for, you said, should everyone do them? Absolutely not. Like, if you're not feeling called to them, then the medicine calls to you. It's such an intuitive thing. And I think that it actually could be very harmful for people to like do it when they're not ready, or when they haven't done their inner work. Because, you think about when people say like, I had a bad trip, my genuine feelings about that are: one, if you're disrespecting the medicine, like doing it a large dose in a setting that it shouldn't be done, that can happen. But number two, like, bad trips for me are things came up that I wasn't ready to deal with. That's what a bad trip for me feels like, is like, it's not a bad trip, is you can't find the awareness where you're able to close the loop and understand why it happened. And so I like to, I don't know. Do you have any other questions about it? That's kind
No,
of my
I mean,
journey.
it's beautiful. I think you said, you should do it when you're called to. Like, I'm always against it. I mean, I got friends in Tulum and all these places in the world, and I'm like, hold on. So you're doing ayahuasca, but your life's not changing. I don't get it, bro. I'm
Yeah.
doing something and my life not changing. I like to execute and apply, integrate and embody. How's your life not changing? Oh man, it's just crazy, but your life is still the same. So tell me,
Yeah.
why does it benefit? So my thing is, when going through the dark night of the soul and experience all this loss and rebirth, I met someone where we're in the lines like, oh, you should do cacao. And I'm thinking like, oh, cacao's chocolate, like dark chocolate, right? And then from there, it just really opened me up. And I'm like, okay. And then my spirit was like in Joshua Tree, and I did my cacao ceremony. Like, before, I did the cacao, I had like this hardening around my heart. And it was from like, my relationship and friendships that I had to let go. And it was just hard. Like, I never told him when I was afraid, like, I don't want to go to the hospital. But it was really hard. I'm like, this is kind of odd. I said, maybe I'm just broken and I just need to heal. And, probably like 30 minutes in, or maybe 15, I started really like, it's like something started to like remove itself. Like, it's not hard. And then, I looked at, my friend who was, guiding it for me. And I just like, you really saw me for who I was, and I could trust people again. I just started crying.
Yeah. Your heart opened. The
Yeah,
heart is the portal.
yeah. And I was just like, wow. And then from there, when I was in Joshua Tree, it was like, Peru, I got to get to Peru, but I didn't know why. A
Mm.
day later, she was saying, like, I just got the offer from the ancestors. I can offer you this. You should come to my retreat. Just come. We have a space for you. Get your flight. It's taken care of. So now I'm just in a space of like, okay, this medicine I know is not only going to help me, but help my soul family and the people that's connected to who I am in this lifetime. And
Mhm.
like you said, it's all information, right? And
Yeah.
download from the cosmos and your ancestors. And I believe I'm here to raise the frequency of humanity. And I just want to continue to connect with the medicine in an authentic way that I'm called to do it. But everything is not for everybody. And I think what you do and what you offer to the world is what people need to hear, because I like how you break things down. Like, you make things make sense. And I think there's a lot of people who have knowledge, but they don't know how to articulate the knowledge, nor do they know how to integrate the knowledge. So
Yeah.
therefore, they're always on this hamster wheel of reading the books, meditating, going to retreat, but nothing's changing.
Yeah.
So can you share with the audience from your world, how do you get someone to really embody the medicine of whatever you're teaching so they can get it, and you're not always coming back to recondition and reprogram them with the information? What's the best way to embody something?
I've really been thinking about this lately, this idea of like what mastery is, because I think that in this day and age when there's so much information, there's so many books to read, there's so many courses to take, it's like we just want the information and we want to go to the next thing. And for me, what I really try to do is I'm like, how do I master this information? Like, I don't want new information until I master this. Like, I want to sit with this. I want to master it. And I think that there's not one right way for everything, for anything to change. But I think that, back to, I think we were talking about this before we started recording. It's like, we have to have integrated masculine and feminine energy. That feminine energy is that more intuitive flow, receiving the downloads, like the getting the information, right? That can be more of like the feminine energy, but the masculine energy is the taking action on it. And I think that truly the reason I am where I am and I have so many things that I have thought or got downloaded into my mind is because I have a very strong masculine. And I think people shy away from masculine these days because they sometimes think, it's all about feeling good and receiving and just get downloads and just like follow the path of least resistance. But it's not always that. Like, sometimes your highest timeline is actually the path of most resistance. And I really want people to hear that. Like, sometimes your highest timeline is going to be the hardest, like the hardest in the moment, but the most fulfilling at the end. And so I think that whatever you're going through, whatever you're trying to master, ask yourself, like, what would it look like to master this? Let's say you're building self-trust. What would it look like to master self-trust? Maybe for 3 freaking months, you need to be hyper disciplined. And then it will, the pendulum will swing back in the middle. But like, mastery is I don't know, it's like a forgotten art. It's like, why did we forget to really sit with things and master them? That's what that's my advice.
I think that's the ultimate thing that all relationships are missing. It's mastery. We don't master ourselves, therefore we can't master the relationship that we want to be in. So if I
Yeah,
don't know myself and I don't love myself the way I need to, how can I expect you to do it if we're in a partnership or business?
exactly.
And I think when people get into bondage or get into buying in a relationship, they're having all these expectations, but no one knows who they are. So
Hmm.
then, they don't have the divine masculine and divine feminine to be a divine union is even distorted, wounded, or toxic, right? And I think
Yeah.
because we have forgotten mastery. How do
Hmm.
we master oneself? How do we master this thing that's sitting in front of us? These patterns keep coming up. And I think the truth is that most of us are afraid of our power, right?
Yeah.
I
And
tell all the time, what are you afraid to tell the truth? You
mhm.
afraid you're gonna hurt someone's feelings? Maybe their feelings need to hurt, and maybe they need to be healed from your truth because you've been a people pleaser all your life.
Mhm.
You have feelings, or maybe you need to be calm because you're always angry and abrasive. Maybe that's how you're gonna heal, right?
Yeah.
But it's like we shy away from the thing we need the most, and it's tough. But it don't have to be.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think that that's like, where thank God we're going is like these what I call 5D relationships. It is these two people that come together from a place of wholeness. It's like not needing to be in a relationship so that you complete me, so that I feel whole, that I feel worthy, that I feel good enough, that I feel chosen. It's like I need to learn how to do that on my own, and then I'm going to see the reflection of someone being in their wholeness too. And that's actually what divine union is, right? So I think it's beautiful that like there are men like you that are leading with their heart. When I went to Joe Dispenza, I don't know if you listened to that podcast episode, but I said for the first time in my entire life,
You said that
I
was hot.
saw
Yeah,
what a man with an open heart looks like.
yeah.
It's the first time, I thought I knew. I saw all these Instagram men, no offense, like it just like when you see it online, it's not the same. But meeting all of these tapped in entrepreneurial men that are sitting there with themselves for 7 days, hands on their heart, tears in their eyes, happy because of no one but them. I'm like, like that's it. I didn't know it existed, but it did. And so I think that there's a new paradigm of relationship and everybody wants it, but nobody wants to sit with themselves and all their shit and feel that wholeness without, you like, I'm just going to be straight. This path to wholeness, it's not easy, right? Like I'm telling all the highlights and I'm just sharing as a teacher, but like there's moments where I'm lonely as fuck and I'm sitting on my couch and what I have to do is I don't want to go inward. I don't want to go sit with my heart, but I go sit my butt down on my couch and I put my headphones in and I
Mhm.
say, Kristen, open your freaking heart and don't get up until you feel like the most whole you've ever felt in your life. And it's those moments that I build the deepest self-trust with myself, because you think that's what I want to be doing on a Tuesday night? I want to binge Netflix. I don't want to sit with my heart for an hour. But I have such a deep relationship with myself. I'm like, you will not get up until you feel whole. And I get up and I am just in bliss. I'm like, I feel happy, and it's because of nothing. Nothing changed outside, but I changed.
Yeah, and it's the best feeling because I realize in my awakening and my awareness and my growth, I've noticed my language with women. If I'm dating someone, if I'm saying I want to see them, the person who's not whole and complete and authentic, who don't want to show his feminine side of what he wants, he says, "Oh, hey, what you doing? What you doing tomorrow?" Like beat around the bush instead of saying, "Hey, I would love to see you tomorrow. I miss hugging you. Can we set time to get together?" You see, it's a different energy. I'm only like, look, I want some affection from your energy. I want to hold you. Can we meet up instead of, hey, I think we should hang out. You think you're free? Like, what are you saying, bro? So yeah, I think when men can kind of fall more into their, divine feminine and trust what they're feeling and like, listen, Kristen, I don't really know how to receive or ask for help. So that's why I don't ever ask because I'm afraid I'm gonna get hurt. Oh, really? I didn't know that
Yeah.
instead of me acting like I don't need anything where I need everything.
And what I loved about what you said in your example is like, when you're beating around the bush, it's coming from a place of lack. You're like, I want to see you, but I don't want to feel rejected if you don't want to see me too. That's the underlying message, right? Whereas like, if you just ask for what you want, it's like coming from this place of sovereignty where you're like, hey, you're what I want. And if you don't feel like this is in alignment for you, I'm still going to be okay. I'm not scared of the rejection because I feel whole already, like nothing outside, right? We're human. We might feel a little bit rejection or sad that it didn't work out, but you keep going. Like everyone is just going to keep going, and we move on.
Yeah, and I tell people all the time, I say, you can't change my feelings about you with me because of what you
Yeah.
did. Your behavior don't change my feelings. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
still love you regardless because I see where you at. Now I might not tolerate that, but I still love you. It wasn't bad.
Yeah.
It was a moment, and we can't go to the next phase. But guess what? Thank you for holding space and the time you did. Thank you, because I feel like when people have separation or breakup, it's always the bad stuff. Why can't we remember the good things?
Yeah.
And be honest about it. Like that contrast or that challenge you to change so you can be where you are today. But it's all love. And I think that's what
Mm-hmm.
we all want and that's what we all need. But we gotta be truly authentic about how we feel, especially as men. We never say how we feel. Oh, you can
Yeah.
never tell your girl you feel, never cry, never just like, bro, like babies cry every day. They authentic. They're not holding their tears in. For what?
Yeah. And if you have a divine feminine woman, like who's done her work, they don't want this like shell of a man. Like we're all human. We all have emotions, right? It's like that's how we feel connected, is sharing emotions. And so I think it's beautiful that you're opening your heart and you're going deeper on your journey. Like seriously, I'm so proud of you. Like I'm so proud of your soul. And like, I'm so happy that you have such a beautiful platform, because I hope that it becomes the norm that men look at you and they're like, that's the cool thing, right? Like that's cool to have an open heart. Cause it's not fucking cool to walk around as a shell of yourself. It's just not.
Yeah, it's not. You can't really feel love and you can't really have deep, real convos with women because they want to feel, they want to heal, they want to know, they want to grow. But if you acting like you're good, they go like, oh, he's fine. He doesn't need anything. Because that was always the story with me. I don't know what you want. You never asked for anything because I didn't know how to ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
Something as small as not knowing how to ask for help. I couldn't receive love from a woman, right? So I
Oh
just
my God. Yeah.
blocked everything where I could have been right? So guess who I have as clients? Women. Guess who helped me? Their energy helps
Yeah.
me help them. It's crazy, but it makes sense because it's all divine. It's all aligned. So I'm just
I
happy.
love that. I love that you said that. And like, even there's so many reflections that I'm looking at in my past relationships where it's like the guys that I was with, they had no needs. You think that they really had no needs? Like they never asked me for anything. And it's like, no, they just had a closed heart and didn't know how to
Yeah.
tap into that. And so it's so important for us to be having these dialogues, man to woman, divine feminine to divine masculine, because it really, we need each other to grow, not like me and you, but we need relationships. Like we all grow through relationships. We didn't come on this incarnation to just be alone. We came to learn through mirrors. And unfortunately, relationships are the hardest mirrors, but they're also the place where your soul gains the most wisdom and depth and texture. So yeah.
Kristen, this was beautiful. Thank you so much for your authenticity, your wisdom, your substance. Oh, it's nothing like seeing a woman with substance. Yes. Universe, show me more women with substance. We love having these deep dive and conversations. However, how can we get connected to you? How can if someone wants to work with you? Do you have
Yeah.
meditation? Do you have a league magic? Like what do you like? We want to be a part of your world because
Oh,
you got it, you give it, you are it. I just love what you do because you show up so raw. And I'm like, yeah, I love that. You're so you that it's easy to be in your energy because you don't got no BS with what you're bringing. You're coming clear, direct, and like, this is who I am, you know?
yeah. Thank you so much. It was a practice. So I'm really excited and I'm going to reflect that right back to you. Like I've said, I'm just like, I know just met you, but I'm like just so proud of you for being your full authentic self on your path. And it's not easy to be so open with all your emotions when you have a big platform. And yeah, just keep doing it. So thank you. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all at Kristen.such, such, whatever you want to say. I get both. So he'll link it below. I also have, plenty of meditations you can find on my website, KristenSuch.com. And then you can also listen to my podcast, Alignment Academy podcast. You'll have to come on, Eric, when we both get back from our trips.
When you leave it,
I have a Costa Rica retreat called Cosmic CEO for Spiritual Entrepreneurs in like a week and a half. So I leave next week. Yeah.
it's amazing.
Yeah. So my podcast, and then yes, you can work with me. You can find all the ways that you can work with me. There's so many. I have master classes, I have courses. You can work with me one-on-one. Just go to my website, KristenSuch.com, and you'll find all the info. You can book a call if you're interested, and I can help you find what's right for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Guys, again, follow her, tap in with her energy and her frequency. This was a phenomenal episode. We went in, we went up, we went wide, we dove deep, all into the cosmos with the feminine, the masculine, and everything in between. I'm just thankful for you. Bigger Talks Podcast, another episode. Shout out to Simplify Impact, who does all my marketing. They're experts in that field. Click the link in this show notes for their expertise. And it's miracleseason.co. Get you some merch. And always follow Kristen and listen to her on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. And there's another Bigger Talks episode. Peace and love. We're out.